the maneuver for about 20, that's in the flight plan at 202.
Checking.
Mission specialists Megan MacArthur and Mike Massavino are at the controls of the robotic arm.
Scooter, thanks for asking. Turns out that the batteries are up to full charge, and we don't need to stay in the battery charge attitude any longer, so we can go to the minus XVV attitude now.
Okay, we'll load that maneuver and kick it off here.
MacArthur and Massimino using the robotic arm, the cameras, to provide a close-up look for the Space Telescope Operations Control Center at the exterior of the Hubble Space Telescope, which they have not seen.
Hey, Houston, Atlantis, good afternoon. Calling you about the power cycle.
Copy. Thanks, Drew.
Yeah, hey, Dex, on MO52 Juliet, I inadvertently power cycled the DC switch, which powers the power distribution box, which is power for TPIC and OCAC, and just want to let you know that TPIC's back on and going through its initialization, but it looks like it's powered up.
Okay, Drew, thanks for that piece of data. That'll help post-flight data reduction. No issues.
Crew members are performing a survey of the exterior of the Hubble Space Telescope to give Hubble's control team a good look at how the telescope has weathered the last 7 years in space. Hubble, of course, has been in orbit for more than 19 years now since its launch on shuttle mission STS-31 in April of 1990. Subsequently, there have been 4 servicing flights, the most recent of which was STS-109, also commanded by Scott Altman, and included spacewalkers John Grunsfeld and Mike Massimino. All 3 of them are on this flight as well. That servicing mission was in March of 2002, and the telescope has been exposed to the conditions of low Earth orbit at an altitude of 350 miles since that time, to the extremes of heat and cold, to the radiation environment. And so the survey at this point is intended to give the Hubble team an update as to the condition of the exterior of the telescope. Part of the plan for The servicing on this mission is an installation of some new outer blanket layers, some panels that are designed to mitigate the degradation of thermal insulation in order to help maintain normal operating temperature of the electrical components inside. Plans call for the installation of new nobles, as they're known, new outer blanket layer, on the 4th and 5th EVA'S of the flight into areas where it's expected that the insulation that's in place needs replacement. This computer display, which is driven by real-time data in the telemetry stream from Atlantis, shows the current location of the shuttle's robotic arm, anchored on the port sill, and now extending across the payload bay with cameras focused on the area of the somewhere between the minus V2 side of the telescope. That's the side with the solar array on the starboard, facing the starboard side of Atlantis, and the minus V3 side, which is the side that is, if you will, facing the crew cabin.
Go ahead for PDRS, Mass.
Hey, Dex, we're looking at the minus V2 Satum clamp, and wondering if it seems a little dark in our image, but it looks good. Are you guys happy with that view down there? We'll move on.
Checking, Mass. Stand by one.
And Dex looks like it's getting a little better now.
Mass, we can confirm that the arm is in the correct position. We're just going to take a look at the view real quick.
Okay, yeah, I was just wondering if the lighting was good enough for you to see what you needed. And Dex, for what it's worth, it looks real good to us up here.
Mass, we're going to lock up KU here in just another minute. It's been a little bit intermittent. Just stand by for another 30 seconds or so. We should have an answer for you.
Okay, thanks.
Current focus is at the point where the solar array on the minus V2 side is attached to the body of the telescope.
Atlantis, Houston, Mass, thanks for waiting for us. The view looks good to us, and you can go ahead and press.
Thanks.
Thanks, Dex. Moving on to extended park.
And as the camera pulls out, it's a bit easier to get some perspective on where things are. The solar array is across the top of the frame. That's the minus V2 solar array, the one that is now hanging over the starboard side of Atlantis. The top of the telescope to the right in our view. The view now down along the starboard sill. And see the base of Atlantis in an area that will have a lot of activity during the upcoming spacewalks. The right center of the frame, the light-colored panel, is where the wide-field planetary camera is currently installed. That's going to be replaced during the first spacewalk by wide-field camera 3. The 3 black circles are areas where the rate sensor units reside. RSU-1 in the center, RSU-2 to the right, RSU-3 to the left. And the view down now in front of the telescope is to the orbital replacement carrier unit. And just to the left of center in this view along the port side of the payload bay, that perhaps cubic shaped item just to the right of the orange foil is the IMAX cargo bay camera. This view is from the payload bay camera in the aft side, port side, looking forward along the robotic arm and up to the underside of the telescope.
Atlantis for PDRS.
Go ahead for PDRS, Mass.
Hey, X, we see the arm at Extended Park, and wanted to thank Linda Schneider for helping me out with these tricky maneuvers on the survey. Thanks very much.
A great job, Mass, to you on the survey, and also to Megan on a wonderful grapple and berthing operation today. We're real proud of all of you. Nice job.
Thanks, Dex. We appreciate that. I'd like to tag on to what Matt said and really offer up a big thanks to Linda for all her help getting us ready for that grapple. She did a great job, and it just went very smoothly thanks to all her efforts. Thanks very much to the whole PDRS team.
Thanks for those words, Megan. We'll make sure they get passed along.
The arm now in the overnight park position. That portion of the survey is complete and completed a little bit ahead of schedule. Meanwhile, pilot Greg Johnson still scheduled to be conducting a survey using handheld cameras from inside the flight deck, shooting the side of the telescope that is pointed orbiter forward. That's the side that's known as the minus V3 side. The shuttle's robot arm is in the overnight park position. That portion of the survey completed. And at this point, for the crew on board Shuttle Atlantis, most of its work concerning the new addition to its payload bay is also complete for the day. Commanding to the telescope from the Telescope Operations Control Center at the Goddard Space Flight Center is not over. There's a number commanding that's still to go on for the next several hours to enable heaters and something past an hour from now in order to also to Atlantis that you see here, these 6 black boxes that are attached to the inside of the door of Bay 10. Those boxes keep all of the science instruments on the telescope synchronized. They work with the data management unit to process and format and temporarily stall the science data on recorders and then transmit it to the ground. So without the SIC and DH, whatever Hubble sees is not relayed to the scientists on the ground who asked for it to look at those things in the first place. Have an updated programming note regarding today's upcoming briefings. We're still looking forward to today's mission status briefing at the top of this hour, 3 o'clock Central Time, 4 o'clock Eastern. That will feature STS-125 lead flight director Tony Sakachi, along with the NASA headquarters Astrophysics Division director John Morse. However, our post-mission management team portion of the briefing has been pushed to the right by an hour. MMT Chairman Leroy Kane now expect will be ready for the post-mission management team briefing at 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern. During tomorrow's first spacewalk, John Grunsfeld and Drew Feustel, as mentioned, to install a wide field camera in place of the wide field planetary camera 2, and to install a new science instrument command and data handling unit. Also on the timeline for them tomorrow, time permitting, will be the installation of what are known as LOCKs. The acronym stands for Latch Over Center Kits. They will be installed on the -V2 shroud doors to help seal those doors closed in order to prevent stray light from entering them and hitting Hubble's main mirror. Additionally, John Grunsfeld is prepared, if time permits, to install the soft capture mechanism to the underside of Hubble. He'll install a portable battery to drive the soft capture mechanism hex interface using a pistol grip tool that will engage that apparatus to the bottom of the telescope. The soft capture mechanism was launched on the flight support system surface. So when Hubble was berthed, it was placed on top of it. Grunsfeld's activity will be to engage the soft capture mechanism to the underside of Hubble. The point of the soft capture mechanism is to enable and assist a safe deorbit of the telescope at its end of mission. It provides a docking interface that is intended to be compatible with some future launched vehicle which would come and attach to Hubble and would control its entry at the end of its mission. And a live view from on board the Space Shuttle Atlantis, looking up at the Hubble Space Telescope, the minus V3 side, where much of the activity of tomorrow's first spacewalk will take place. in that white-colored panel in the lower portion of the telescope facing the camera. That's the bay that currently contains the Wide-Field Planetary Camera 2.
Go ahead, John, for EVA.
So I know it's been a pretty busy day, so I just wanted to make sure we were all tagged up. All of our EVA activities, tool config, and the EVA camera config has been complete. For Tomas and Christie, we checked all of the tethers, and they all checked out fine, and the waist tethers, safety tethers, and all we have left is EVA review.
Hey, John, that sounds like great. I think we concur. And, John, I wanted to call your attention to a message that's coming on board here in just a few minutes as soon as we get some KU coverage. It has to do with some particulate matter that we saw on the blankets on the W site, the forward edge, and along the handrails. A very fine particulate matter that we saw in some imagery that was taken back on Flight Day 1, I believe. And just wanted to call your attention to it. There's a message coming on board that discusses that with some pictures. Bottom line for EVA is no impact. However, we are going to ask you to go off and maybe pick up the 400 millimeter lens and take some additional imagery of that matter.
Okay, thanks, Dex. The only other thing I wanted to pass on, not a big deal, but we did end up having to clean adhesive off of some of the tools.
Okay, John, thanks for that data. And going into nighttime here, but maybe by the next day pass, if you guys are done with your EVA procedure review, you could break out that 400 millimeter lens, and when the lighting is right, take some more images of that area.
Okay, thanks, Dex.
And Dex, from Scooter, I understand the message breaks out the details of exactly what you want us to image.
It does. There's some words in that message, and also some imagery of PowerPoint presentation of it, the imagery that you took previously with a 200 millimeter lens.
Okay, we've got the 400 on the flight deck right now. We'll be able to do that as soon as I take a look at the message.
Okay, thanks.
Spacecraft communicator Alan Poindexter, hearing from Mission Specialist John Grunsfeld, reporting that all of the pre-EVA activities are complete, except for the upcoming procedure review for all of the crew members. Poindexter also alerting the crew that they're going to be asked to use a 400 millimeter lens on a camera to take image of some what's described as fine particulate matter that was seen on the cover of the Wide Field Camera Scientific Instrument Protective Enclosure. That is what is at the base of the W SIPE that you heard him referred to. That's the container on the top of the super lightweight interchangeable carrier, the container which is holding the new Wide Field Camera 3. Our mission status briefing from here at the Johnson Space Center coming up momentarily. It'll feature lead flight director Tony Sacacci, as well as the Astrophysics Division Director from NASA headquarters, John Morse. That is coming up, our next event on NASA television. This is Mission Control, Houston.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to NASA's Johnson Space Center. A great day aboard Atlantis with the Hubble Space Telescope also. Joining us for today's mission status briefing is Tony Sacacci. He is the lead flight director for Atlantis's mission to service the Hubble Space Telescope one last time. And also joining us is John Morse. He is the director of the Astrophysics Division at NASA headquarters. We'll hear from both gentlemen, and then we'll throw it open for questions. With that, I'll turn it over to Tony.
All right. Thanks, Kyle. I'm sure you've seen what we have in the payload bay today. We had a very successful day. We had a few hiccups we had to work through, but all in all, we got the HST grappled and berthed, and it's down and it's ready for the 5 EVAs we have planned the next 5 days. Just later on, it was, I want to say it was a great team effort. Like I said, we had a few comm hiccups. Everybody worked very well together here at JSC and Goddard to make sure we had a really good plan together with the failures that we had, or I should say the hiccups and the unique situation that we had. But again, it all worked out very well, and very happy where we're at today. The remainder of the day, of course, the crew's going to complete the HST surveys. Mike Massimino did the RMS ones right after we got birthed, and Ray J is going to go ahead and do the digital ones a little bit later. The crew, they completed all their EVA-1 tool configs today, and this evening they'll be doing EVA-1 procedure review, and then we'll get ready for tomorrow's activities tomorrow. So with that, that's all I really had to talk about today, Kyle.
John?
We're very excited on the HST program and the Science Mission Directorate, and again wanted to thank the Space Shuttle program, the Space Operations Mission Directorate, all the ground support crew, everyone that gave us a great ride-up and successfully grappled and berthed HST to the orbiter. We're very much looking forward to getting on with these EVA activities. I wanted to note that when we first had the image of HST on the big screen in our control room, there were audible gasps of elation that this was truly a wonderful sight after 7 years or so since the last servicing mission to see the Space Telescope. Amazing sights of the telescope on the end of the grapple arm with the Earth in the background. And I noted on a sticky here when they were working through a couple of these comm issues, verifying that HST had released its safe mode, that John Grunsfeld had called down and said it was an amazing sight, and after 19 years, it still looks to be in fantastic shape. So we're really looking forward to tomorrow and getting on with the instrument upgrades and repairs.
Okay, thanks, John. Tony, we're ready for questions. Where is Jeremiah? Start in the corner with Bill and work your way across there. Bill Harwood.
Bill Harwood, CBS News. For Tony, for tomorrow's EVA, any chance those guys go out earlier? Or is this one of those things that's so tightly scripted comm-wise and everything else that you try to stay on the timeline?
Basically, what we did going in plan for the EVAs, Bill, is that we're going to go out about an hour and a half after wake up. That's how we actually start the EVA prep activities. And basically, we're planning to go out early, and we're hoping to get out on time. So
Okay.
the crews are going to work really hard, and most likely for tomorrow being the first day, we'll get out on time, and they might improve on that, by minutes and so, but not much earlier. And like you said, we do have a pretty tight script with all the commanding required to get the telescope ready for the EVA activities and such.
Thanks. And just before you guys got here, they were talking on air to ground about having them take some pictures of some, they called it fine particulate on wide field camera 3 case. Can you tell us what that's all about? I'm just curious.
Yeah, on the WSIP, we took some the SSC overnight survey with the cameras, Flight Night 1, and they saw some contamination on it. We're looking at the pictures, very fine contamination. Don't know what it is, but basically what we're going to do is just give the crew words that, hey, it's there. Just be careful when you're around it, not to disturb it too much, and that's about it. No really big other changes to the EVA.
Mark.
Thank you, Mark Haro, representing the AFP. Could either of you discuss the imagery of the telescope itself, if it revealed anything surprising in terms of the condition of the outside?
Actually, I was head down trying to get the telescope in a good config, and I really didn't see anything, Mark, and I don't know how much John saw of that, but you know, like you said, Grunsfeld said it was in very good condition, and so based on that, we know, like we talked about before, that there was a little bit extra MLI damage and stuff to it, some more cracks, but John reported it looked in great shape. We'll have the folks take a look at the pictures that both Ray J and Mike Massimino took with the RMS to doubly check the condition of the telescope.
Thanks. And I had a follow-up question regarding the communications issues during the rendezvous. I gather that was something you sort of rehearsed, but I think I got the gist of it was that the astronauts could command, but they could not see the response. So you had to loop in the ground station at Goddard and have them command and check the response and then relay it to the crew. If that's roughly right, how unwieldy was that?
Well, that wasn't planned. We never simmed that, but we've simmed scenarios such like that where we just, you know, we go through every what if. And basically what happened is I'll first talk about how we worked around it. We knew that the crew could command and also the HST guys could command through the ground, but we couldn't get feedback to the crew. So there was various commanding that usually the crew gets feedback, and I can't remember it. I can't believe I've been up all this long, but it was the attitude disable command on the HST, and there's a different word for that, but the crew just couldn't see it, so we sent both commands. There's a backup in prime, and at that point in time, of course, the sim folks couldn't script it any better, but we lost our TDRS downlink, so we had to stand by for that. So we had a plan going that if we couldn't get the downlink or couldn't get TDRS within a certain amount of time, that we were going to go ahead and maneuver and get that capability. Well, we swapped to the aft antenna, if I remember correctly, and luckily that got us interface with TDRS, and we were able to see the end item, and we're going to press on.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. It's Chris Baltimore with Reuters for either Tony or Scott. You've got 5 spacewalks coming up. Just wondering if things do go awry down the road and you have to kind of, reconfigure things, which of the tasks that are assigned now are the highest priority for you, and which ones are possibly ones that could be rolled, or is it sort of an all or nothing thing for you right now?
Well, basically, I'll answer that one, and if John wants to add anything to that, but we worked really hard pre-flight to put together a plan that if we had any reduction of EVA time, that we make sure the high priority activities get completed. And right now where we're at, basically for the first 2.5 EVAs, we have basically all the high priority activities. The only thing we have to move up is the battery Bay 3 activity from EVA 5 to EVA 3, and we can accomplish all the high priority activities, minimum mission success, if you want to call it. So we have a pretty good plan, and depending on what happens down the road, and we're well prepared, and have a very good plan to react to that.
Right. I'll add that we've engaged the science community, for example, in trying to put together a plan. We have a list of priorities, and those priorities are the gyros, the batteries, the Science Instrument Command and Data Handling System, and 2 new instruments. And that's what we have at the top of our list, the Wide Field Camera 3 and the Cosmic Origin Spectrograph. And then the instrument repairs, the fine guidance sensor, and on down to the blankets. So we have a list of things. The project has worked exhaustively through a whole bunch of different scenarios in case we lose EVA time to see which directions we go at different points of the decision tree.
Thanks. Irene Klotz with Reuters. I have one for John and 2 quick ones for Tony. For John, it was, as you mentioned, it was very thrilling to get that look of Hubble, and I was just curious if you had some sense of relief that it wasn't, you didn't see things trailing off, or, if you can just maybe describe a little bit what you felt like when you got your first sight.
For me, and First of all, Megan MacArthur just did a fantastic job grappling and bringing it into position after Scooter and the crew brought the orbiter into a attitude to do the grapple. Now, you've heard Dr. Lacrone and Dr. Weiler in the past at previous press conferences talking about how this is their 6th mission. This is my first here being at NASA, and I was really blown away with seeing the telescope up close on the screen. Now, you know, it's normal operations. The telescope isn't moving really fast so that things necessarily shake apart or anything, so I'm not sure we expected to see big flapping blankets or anything, but there is degradation due to the space environment of the outer blankets, and we'll take a look at that. But as John Grunsfeld wired down, it was a beautiful sight out the back of the shuttle, and it was a great sight on the TV. And it really shows you how big the telescope is, the size of a bus. So I would say majestic off the back end of the grapple arm before we were berthing.
And for Tony, I know that this is not in the plan to revive the secondary channels on the STS and ACS, but I was just curious if you've actually included any equipment, any of the circuit boards or power supplies that if there's some miracle, lots of extra time to bring that back, or is it just not even a possibility?
No, we haven't planned for that.
Okay. Thanks. And then the other question is another thing that's not possible. The STS-400 crew, just was curious if they go into quarantine at all, and if so, when?
To be honest with you, they, of course, they're not in quarantine now, of course, but they would be later on after we did the late inspection, since I think later on they had the MMT today, and there was some preliminary assessment that everything was looking good, but again, I'll have to wait for, at 5 o'clock this evening is when they're going to give the final resolution of all that, and to do focused inspection or not. But basically, if you look at late inspection, it would be later on in the mission, like Flight Day 10 or Flight Day 11, that the crew would quickly go into quarantine if we needed them for the end of mission.
Tarek? Thank you. Tarek Malik with Space.
Rectangular section on the very top of it is the W-SIPE that contains the Wide Field Camera 3. You can see from this image how relatively close that is to the windows on the aft flight deck of Atlantis. The crew will use a camera with a 400mm lens from there in order to get close-up imagery of those areas where that particulate matter was noticed earlier on. The mission control reported to the crew that during the spacewalk tomorrow, when the crew members will have to open the lid on the W-SIPE, that there's no serious concern about any of that particulate matter contaminating the new instrument. They were also telling the crew to be prepared for the next timelined activity in which the crew will work to do their parts in order to rotate the solar arrays on the telescope from their current position, which is roughly parallel to the body of the telescope. They will slew those solar arrays to the 0-degree position, or that is a change of 90 degrees from their current position, so that the plane of those solar arrays is perpendicular to the length of the telescope. That's done to not only facilitate charging of batteries, but to clear the work site on the minus V2 side, where Grunsfeld and Feustel will be working tomorrow to install the new SIC and DH equipment. That's in Bay 10 of the Hubble, which is located just below the solar array that is on the minus V2 side. The split screen view will allow a look on the ground at both of the solar arrays on the Hubble Space Telescope simultaneously. For the upcoming slew of those solar arrays, to have them rotated into the 0-degree position.
Atlantis for solar array slew.
Go ahead, Atlantis.
Yeah, we're starting to position the cameras, but we think we're going to have to wait for the sun to come up a little bit before we can point them where we want to.
Copy.
Are you ready for DAP to be 11 auto burn?
Scooter, we are ready for that DAP call out. Thanks.
Atlantis in the telescope, 350 miles above the Earth and flying just north of Darwin, Australia. Perhaps 5 minutes away from orbital sunrise. From this camera view, you can see the sunrise in the distance and approaching. Crew is also waiting for sunrise in order to take the additional photographs of the forward portion of the enclosure atop the super lightweight interchangeable carrier in the payload bay, the box that's carrying wide field camera 3, for more detailed photographs of some fine particulate matter that was seen during earlier surveys of the payload bay yesterday. The message that directed the crew to take these photographs also indicates to the crew members that this particulate matter is not expected to pose any difficulties for tomorrow's spacewalk, during which the crew members will be in that area to retrieve wide field camera 3 and to stow wide field planetary camera 2 after its removal from the telescope.
Houston, Atlantis for Photo TV.
Go ahead for Photo TV.
Hey, Dex, if you can give us a heads up when you've got all the photos off the 2 cards in KFX, we'll swap them out.
Copy. John, we're still working on getting those images down. Give you a call as soon as they're finished.
Okay, thanks. Appreciate it. And no pressure or anything. Shuttle Atlantis for HST.
Go ahead for HST, John.
Yeah, sorry, Dex, for taking so long, but with orbital sunrise, we can't really aim forward cameras, specifically camera delta, at the array that's over on starboard because of the sun. If you want us to press, we can press and get the camera set up once we've got a little bit more angle on the sun.
And John, as long as we're not interfering with your ability to conduct your procedure review for tomorrow's EVA, we are happy to wait on the appropriate lighting conditions.
And Houston, we think we're just about there.
Copy.
Houston, if you like that view, we think we're ready for solar ray slope.
Looks good to us, Scooter. We will start the command sequence. I'll call you here in a few minutes for free drift.
Copy that. Standing by.
Payloads officer here in Mission Controls communicated to the Space Telescope Operations Control Center that they have to go to start the commanding to slew the solar arrays to the 0 degree position. This is a live look inside the stock where the teams are on duty, monitoring systems in the telescope and sending commands. Have been throughout the day today. This slewing the telescope's solar arrays is the last bit of business for the stock operators for the next several hours. Later this evening, they'll conduct a KU band on-orbit checkout and later playback of engineering data from the solid-state recorders on board Hubble.
Atlantis, Houston, we're ready for free drift in step 2 of the solar array salute procedure.
Copy, Houston, free drift in step 2.
Atlantis now in free drift, and the slewing of the solar arrays should begin momentarily.
Shuttle Atlantis for HST. We do show good solar array motion.
Copy, John. We've got good KU imagery. Thank you.
The astronauts confirming what the stock has just reported to Mission Control in Houston, that the motion of the solar arrays has begun. It's anticipated that the complete slewing of these arrays to the new position will take approximately 15 minutes to complete. And enough motion in the video so far that the naked eye can see that the top portion of the arrays moving away from the cameras and the bottom portion of the arrays moving toward them. In a good view now, you see the solar arrays on the Hubble Space Telescope in motion, being slewed into their new position. This is underway as Atlantis flies 350 miles above the north central Pacific Ocean. A programming note, today's post-mission management team briefing with MMT Chairman Leroy Cain will begin in just a few minutes. Mr. Cain is on his way into the briefing room, and as soon as we have everything set in the room, we will switch over for today's post-MMT briefing.
Houston Atlantis for a photo TV camera card.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Dex, we're finished shooting the shots of the W-SIPE and the particulate matter with the 400. We also finished the 200 millimeter minus V3 survey, and they're waiting to be downlinked as soon as the other two cards are done.
Hey, good timing, Ray J. It turns out we are finished with the cards that are in the KFX machine. You can swap those out now.
Okay, here they come.
Thanks very much.
Telescope Operations Center has reported to Mission Control at Houston that the solar array slew is complete at 4:07 p.m. And we anticipate a call to Commander Scott Altman to...
For the solar array slew, we're ready for auto on the depth.
Thanks, and you want B11 auto burn?
That's firm. And we'll stay in B11 until we're back in attitude. We'll give you a call to go back to A10.
Anticipate a call to Commander Scott Altman
Complete, Dex.
to have Atlantis resume attitude control. And with those commands, that wraps up commanding to the telescope from the Space Telescope Operations Center for the next 3.5 hours or so. At that point, the controllers at the Goddard Space Flight Center will do a KU band on-orbit checkout and follow that up later tonight, well after the crew members are asleep, by getting a playback of engineering data from the solid-state recorders on board Hubble. That also clears the activity on the schedule for the astronauts on board Atlantis to move into their EVA procedure review. They have an hour set aside on their schedule for all 7 crew members to go over the detailed plans for tomorrow's spacewalk. That's to be conducted by astronauts John Grunsfeld and Drew Feustel, starting about 7:15 Houston time tomorrow morning, during which they will install a new wide-field camera in place of an older instrument, and install a new Science Instrument Command and Data Handling Unit, one with 2 redundant working sides, to replace the unit which failed back in September and led to the postponement of the launch of this flight. In the meantime, we are still standing by for the beginning of today's post-mission management team briefing. That is coming from the Johnson Space Center in Houston. We anticipate that within a couple of minutes. Again, today's briefing featuring Mission Management Team Chairman Leroy Kane, who will be briefing on the state of the review of inspection data captured during flight days 2 and 3, as well as other issues discussed during today's mission management team meeting.
And Houston Atlantis for photo TV camera cards.
Go ahead.
Hey, Dex, sorry to bother you, but the EVA tool config photos are on a card now, also in the KFX.
Okay, great. Thanks. We're looking forward to seeing those. If Scooter's available, I've got just a couple words to pass.
Stand by.
Go ahead, Houston.
Hey, Scooter, just want to keep you informed about what we're working on. We are tracking a conjunction. No action required. We're not going to take any action. It is in the yellow, and the time for closest approach is 2 days, 5 hours, and 27 minutes. We will continue to track it.
Hey, we appreciate the heads up. That sounds like just a little bit before sleep. I know you'll let us know as things go on, but appreciate the heads up.
Sure thing, Scooter. We thought you'd like to know.